Welcome to Elite 6 Think Tank, an open discussion group with business owners who share their knowledge, experience and skills. All right, so our topic today, if you're not familiar with the Think Tank meeting, we basically break it into 4 parts. We have a topic or a theme, experience. We talk about people's experiences with that theme, problems they have with the theme, solutions that we may come up with, and then takeaways. So what we could do is, I personally struggled a wee bit to get a theme for today, so it's, because I can't say it, strategic.
Strategic.
Thank you. Relationships. And I was listening to the CNN news, and they was talking about in America what advice they would give small to medium-sized businesses at the moment. And one of them was having relationships, building, networking, and getting to know other businesses. But probably right now, we really want to know who's a good alliance and probably not such a good alliance, perhaps. So I'm going to stop that screen sharing, and I'm going to start this one and open it up to you guys and ask you guys, what would you... now we can break into a different topic if this one doesn't tickle our fancy, but let's see where this goes for a start. And what's people's experiences been so far with forming relationships? Good.
What I've had is that how long they last. Decades later, that connection you made can come back home and deliver in other forms. Like it's a lifetime connection that just keeps on giving.
Mm. Yep.
Well, I just think that that even within this group, you know, I have alliance with Matt and Belinda James, and they're originally
trying to get rid of you, but there you go.
Yeah. And that's worked extremely well. And so the end point is that we are clients of each other as well. So that's what's emerged from that long-term relationship.
All right. Aligned value. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get my screens in order. Aligned value. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be big. Oh, my goodness. That didn't work. 1 minute, please, caller. I'll get that right in a second. So do we need relationships is probably a really good question. Or can we wing it ourselves and go solo? Do you need a relationship with your dentist? No.
I think one of the things that you do need, though, is you do need people that can help you sort the wheat out from the chaff. You know, it's the old story. If we're just working by ourselves, we tend to get tunnel vision around what we're doing and how we're doing things. And it's having the people like the people in this group, and as Danny and I have had for quite some time, just talking over things that are important to us and getting things organised. I think strategic relationships are absolutely important.
Yeah, now that's actually a good example. Actually, Dave and I on a Thursday, we haven't lately, used to spend an hour together, and I'd pay Dave for his time, so it wasn't just because I wanted some professional sounding board. And I probably think that David would be honest to say I hope has got a lot out of it as well.
Yeah.
But also I got a lot of wisdom. Well, I still get a lot of wisdom out of Dave's knowledge, experience and skills. So it's been well worth the value. We've been doing that, I reckon, 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been a regular thing that we've done, which probably, hand on heart, probably something I would have never thought I would actually have done. Yeah, I'll catch up with these things at the moment. So what's people's experiences with building relationships? Has it been easy? Is it fast? Is there a system around building relationships that we can just do and it works? Or do we need to employ different
You need to spend time with people. I think you know, I mean, the businesses that fail the most regularly are partnerships, where people having a great idea and going into business, but I think it's really knowing and doing that due diligence and checking that you've got to have similar motivations, similar values, similar morals for it to work effectively. Either one party will take advantage of the others.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. Nothing worse than somebody saying, "Hey, you got a minute," and then they pump your brain. Okay. It took more than a minute to pump my brain, but that's okay. And also, if you were looking at just offering your services, how do you turn this into business? And let's say that somebody is actually, because we're friends, we all work together, and then all of a sudden this has actually gone over the boundaries in a way, and actually now something I actually do for a living. Can you help me set up my email might be a thing, and then all of a sudden an hour later you've actually set up their email, and then you think, I actually would have charged for that service normally. And then you felt like you've been taken advantage of. That might have actually, and I wonder sometimes if people were intuitive enough to realize that they've just pinched an hour of somebody, and that doesn't help me build that relationship. I actually back away a little bit, and then I go home and I sit there and I come up with a system so that won't happen again. So like if you go to my website, danny.co.nz, and you go there and you click on my bookings, you'll see that I have 15 minutes worth of my time available at no charge. Book me, bleed my brain for 15 minutes, and then Zoom will say time up, and then there's a half an hour and there's an hour time, and that shows my hourly rate. But now the goal is to get people to fill out the 15 minutes rather than bypassing the system. And they don't want to because they're busy. And I go, well, if you're busy, I'm busy. We're both busy. I'm trying to make a living here too. And then I asked one lady once if she had a budget, and she said 0. And I said, if I've asked Siri that question, what's 0 divided by 0? They said, the Cookie Monster comes out and says you can't half 0 by 0 because 0 by 0 is nothing. But I think it's, like you sort of say to people sometimes, well, if I'm going to charge you for my time, you must have some money. What's your budget? And people don't like doing that. So how do you work with that?
You don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what we need to do at the moment, isn't it? Is it realize that we don't have to give away stuff, perhaps. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. I think if the client's coming in, exactly as you said, you're giving stuff away. If a potential partner or alliance is coming in, then you need to have that confidence that they're not going to do that up front, because that's to do that up front, it's a clear indication that there's not going to be a harmonious relationship, really.
Yeah.
So would it be fair to say it's kind of our fault that we haven't groomed our clients correctly?
Should we have to, Isn't that just about a bit of respect?
Yeah.
Just mutual respect?
Yeah. And I think too that when we're talking about strategic relationships, we're not necessarily talking about a business relationship, and they are subtly different. You can have a business relationship within a strategic relationship, but not necessarily the other way around. So, it is about that mutual respect and trust, though, all the same.
Yeah.
All of those are being picky and choosy.
Yeah. What I tend to do is somebody's coming to me and say they're a hairdresser, for example.
Okay then. Cheers.
And
bye.
When they get to that, they start asking too much for free, and I sort of say, well, when should I come around and get my hair cut? What do you mean? And so, well, obviously I'm expecting a free haircut out of this because you're using my time for free. It's because they value their time, but they don't value your time.
Yeah. No. Tricky one. Something I've struggled with in a lot of time, but because a lot of my questions, I kind of want to make myself available, and I kind of like doing what I do. And also a lot of the people are actually paying me some in another form, so it's sort of, and also if you're not doing it always for the money, and you've got enough to buy your groceries at the end of the week, that's my downfall. I think, oh, well, I'm all right.
Yeah, but I think if you have a good relationship with someone and you know that they generally need your help and that they've bothered to know you for some time, I don't have such a problem helping those people out for free. It's
Mm.
when people come in who don't know you and expect that same something attitude. You know, you help your mates out, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah. And it's nice. It is a nice thing. I quite like it. I had a guy ring me up on whatever day it was, Tuesday, and he's a real clever lawyer. And he said, look, I just want to get up to speed with technology and I want to learn how to use my computer. So I said, well, I'm $120 an hour. And I said, if I charge you an hour a week, it's going to be nearly $500 a month for me to teach you. So I said, I don't think that is fair all around. And I said, but I really want to help you. And I said, the difference between me getting my hourly rate is the value. If I see you applying the value of what I'm doing, I'm going to feel a lot better about spending my valuable time, but I want you to be aware of my hourly rate. So I said, well, how about we do something like this? And I charge you a couple $100 a month and you get 4 hours a month, and we'll do it at Genius Co-working around about 11 o'clock. And he goes, that suits me. And I thought, cool. And I said, but if you miss a day, I still get my $200. And then with that knowledge, I went away and I was actually talking to Lance, and I said, well, why don't we write a list of things that people might actually want to learn, that are basic computer knowledge, and have, like a few. We come up yesterday with about 20 different things that potentially we could teach people and give them a list of what they want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just grooming it in a way which is fair. And that particular guy, his hourly rate's probably $400-500 an hour. But he's obviously, it's a bit silly if I turn. It just seemed like that worked, and that worked for everyone. And I'm quite happy with that. But I said, the day that you don't get I think what David said to me, the day that I stop giving you value, you stop paying me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I guess one of the things we've got to be able to do is to recognise where we've got the gaps or the holes in our knowledge and our background, and be able to pick up people who can actually help us fill those gaps in. And I think this is one of the beauties of something like Elite Six, where we actually get to see people and what they do, and we get a chance to be able to measure whether the sort of services that they offer us are going to be of value to us.
Absolutely.
I like it. Yeah, I'm happy how it's going with me anyway. Put it that way. I know Paul's probably a good example. He's got a computer shop, so he gets strangers walking in the door holding a laptop, going, "I've just got a little problem." And have a little look at it. And half an hour later, they walk out going, "Oh, thanks. Do I owe you anything?" I bet that's what they say every time. And he goes, "No, I just set myself up here in the shop for the hell of it. It's not really my business. I'm actually a window cleaner, and I clean the window fronts of all the other shops. That's how I make my living. This is a free service. Didn't you read the sign on the way in?" Yeah. So what's your best way of turning a walk-in client into somebody who forks out money, Paul? How have you worked that problem?
Depends. I've started basically just charging a diagnostic fee, which is $50.
Yeah.
And most people haven't complained.
Yeah.
But
and then
that's pretty common though, Paul, isn't it? If you go to a lot of the tech places around, they say, if you're going to put your, say, laptop in for a check or what have you, then it's a basic fee, whether it's $50 or $60 or whatever.
Yeah, but you've got to, because one of my competitors here in Rangiora, they were next to the warehouse for a while. And what people were doing was they were coming in, wasting half an hour finding out what they needed, and then go and buying it at the warehouse. So they then said, right, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to start charging you for our knowledge, basically. I'm going a slightly different track in that I've just in the process of signing up with an Australian company that does quotations. And one of the side effects of that is it gives me a online shop. So I'm hoping I can push a lot of that sort of inquiries into the online shop, where you can actually say, this is my budget, this is what I'm looking for, and it does it all for you. So effectively, I'm hoping that it will enable the customers to do all that themselves.
So the portal's promoted, is that what you're saying? And then...
Sorry? Can't hear you.
Can't you? How about now?
That's better.
Is the portal promoted of people who provide a whole lot of services? Is that what you mean?
It's goods and it will be services. So
how do people find the site?
I'm going to have to promote it on Facebook and Google.
Right. So why don't you just use a Shopify shop? Because I remember you said it's a couple $100 a month. Why don't you just use a Shopify shop to put your services on there and people buy them? What's the difference?
This particular organization, for want of a better word, changes thousands of pages a day. And apparently it rates very well on the SEO. Google loves it. And they did it with another small business, which was also another one-man band. And after a month, the one-man band had to turn it off because they couldn't cope with the demand.
Oh, yeah.
What they were finding were people were buying computers and then contacting him to the shop to say, can you transfer all this? And he's no longer a one-man band now. Yeah. So it was a good impetus. That partnership basically proved a good impetus for growth, and I'm hoping to follow it.
Yeah, I'd be a bit dubious. So I'd have like a better look at it, to be honest.
Well, it's only cost $260 a month. So you can't build a shop and manage that online for that amount of money.
No, and you'll know in 3 months, Paul, whether it's
exactly. It's a gamble. If it pays off, it pays off. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
But it's a calculated gamble. You know, you've done your homework and researched it. So
that's right.
I was looking at a quote yesterday from an SEO company who was going to go through somebody's online shop and quoted them 15 hours a month, and the hourly rate was $210 an hour to do the optimization on their website. So,
that's New Zealand.
Yeah. So I thought, wow, he worked it out 3,100 a month, and one day we're going to drop into this guy's shop because his turnover for the last 30 days in his shop is $143,000. The average sale was about $200-300, and he optimizes the hell out of his online shop, and he's real clued up. He's a good mate of mine. He sells the Garmin watches.
Oh yeah.
And I've watched that guy go from selling $59,000 worth of product in a year to obviously $143,000 in a month. And he gets every Tom, Dick, and Harry coming along, offering him advice on how to do what he does really, really well. He's the biggest Garmin dealer in New Zealand now. Interesting. But, you know, watching people grow their business like that and the aggression is quite interesting. All right. Problems. Okay, so relationships with people. Have we kept on topic with these?
Pretty much.
So what's the problems? What's the problems with relationships? People are too
maintaining relationships sometimes, because when people want you to do certain things for them, and then you've agreed on something, for example, in a professional relationship, and you give them an invoice, and then they start kind of going, well, hang on, that's not what we agreed. And you go, yes, it is actually. Dealing with that kind of stuff. So I've learned now that I've basically got to spell everything out and everything signed off before I even start the job. I've learned that the hard way, but I'm getting there. This is when I'm doing consulting and stuff, not when I'm doing catering. Yeah.
That would some industries struggle to get that across. I mean, I've found with myself is I will charge 10 hours of my time in implements. So if I'm going to do a website design, I don't charge $3,000 or $4,000. I say, look, I charge $120 an hour, and I'm going to charge you 10 hours of my time. The last job that I did in 10 hours, I actually produced, here's 10 websites I did, and A to Z, all of them people paid me $1,200, and here's what they got for their $1,200. And the reality of it, what I do is if I need to spend 15 hours, they don't know that. So that's where I give the extra value. But it's kind of worked out well for me, because obviously if somebody's going to hire you, even if it's for 2 or 3 hours, they're going to use 2 or 3 hours of your time before they even get any of your services. So maybe that's a great way. And after I've done the first 10 hours, then next time I might let them tally up some how do I say, a debt with me before I send them their next bill. But I don't know if that would work with most industries, but that's just what's worked well with me.
Yeah. The trouble is in hospitality, nobody wants to pay any money for anything. I mean, you're still getting head chefs getting paid $25 an hour. So.
But isn't that a good thing to identify, that if you're not getting paid, then why are we doing the work? Is that?
Yeah.
It's a bit simple to say, but it is simple to say, isn't it?
Exactly. And I've got somebody who's approached me again just yesterday about consulting with them. It's like, I think they're a real estate agent and they want to get into hospitality. They want to own a hospitality business. And I said, well, then you need to call me. I'll give you the reality of it, honey.
I wouldn't have thought anyone would be having that conversation these times. Liz.
I know, right?
Yeah. But in terms of the hourly rate for chefs and things, it's almost been an endemic situation that's happened over decades.
Yeah.
And maybe it was the answer lay about 20 or 30 years ago when the chefs themselves were saying, no, this is not what we're going to do, because the entrepreneurs and the owners of these hostelries would have had to actually front up the dough then.
Yeah. And most businesses, I mean, and be warned, guys, that if you're going to expect them to be dining out, costs are going to go up, because they have to. Because most hospitality businesses make enough money to have rent and wages for the following week, and that's about it. Some are lucky to have 2 weeks in advance. That's it.
I'm happy to pay more. I want to pay more. I want to know that everyone's happy in the workplace. It would not bother me personally to pay $50 for a main. If I was going out for dinner, I'd expect to pay at least 50 or even more.
Yeah.
Because I've watched people, I've never understood this. People go out and pay $30 for a main and say, boy, that's expensive, and then get 2 glasses of wine. And
yeah.
Quite happy to pay $60. I'll go out and not drink and have a $60 meal any day.
Here's a classic example for you then. I've got 2 catering functions confirmed. One's this weekend and one's in 2 weeks. These are all like dinner parties or lunches at home. One wants to pay $30 a head and the other one's offered $100 a head.
Right.
Now, like, what can you do for this budget?
Say nothing, Liz. You say that my starting rate per head is $50 and you go after that market.
Yeah.
Because you're taking your food to them. You're not even like, you haven't got a venue where people come like Rosebank. And I'm sorry, if you want $30 a head, I think you're going to do morning teas with me.
Yeah.
No, that's $5 a head.
Yeah. Oh no, people want to do morning teas for $8 a head, $12 a head.
Pay peanuts, get monkeys.
Exactly.
Well, Dave, put that.
And because I specialise in dietaries, I do dietaries inclusive. I don't charge extra for dietaries, so that's a cost I have to cover across the board.
Don't you use less material when you take things out? It's like I went out. I'm not knocking you. This is just a funny story, but I went to Medfin to the Thompson. Was it Top Twins restaurant, and I said, "Oh, look, we're vegans, and we're I'm gluten free. What have you got for us?" And she said, "You can have anything on the menu." And I went, "Oh, great." So I think it was $28 for the Ed Benedicts. So next thing is I got 2 bits of bread with tomato on. I was charged extra for the gluten free bread. And I got tomatoes and I think avocado, and it cost me $28.
That's bullshit.
And I thought, wow. And then they go, there you go. Told you we could help you out. And I thought, why did that not, because their button on their till didn't have a button for it, you see?
Yeah.
But Danny, I must say, gluten-free food. There is a shop in town solely gluten-free. Everything in it. It's a bakery, and it's huge. And I bought some stuff.
Is that the one in Sydenham?
Yeah. Yes. And it cost me for our morning tea and a few leftovers $35 for my aunt and I, and that was just for a few cakes. It is highly expensive, so I can understand why they charged you that.
But no, but that $28 for that, I mean, the only thing different on that dish was the gluten-free bread. The gluten-free bread does not cost $10.
And I didn't have the sausages, the bacon, or the eggs. I think we had spinach and tomatoes, actually.
Yeah, we don't go back there. That's the upshot of it.
But they obviously didn't have a system for it. You know, and but anyway, I met one of the top twins, so that was quite nice. That was the goal.
Yeah, hey, but one of the just talking to that though, you know, and Mark's response was, you know, don't go back. But I reckon that's one of the problems with us Kiwis. Yes. We vote with our feet.
Exactly.
We should spend more time actually saying how we feel about what, you know, this is good and bad about the service and the quality of the goods that we get.
Did you talk to them about what you were getting?
Voting, if you think we should say.
Agree, Mark. Mark, I agree totally. David, rather.
Yeah. But I'm certainly of that age and stage. If I have a dissatisfying experience, that I will mention it at the time. Because I agree with David that if you just walk away, yes, that's one element.
And to be honest, how are they going to improve it if they don't know?
Absolutely.
Right.
I go by that rule: ignorance is bliss. And if people don't know, how can they improve it?
That's right.
If I'm
agreed.
Say, how do you
there's constructive criticism and there's critical criticism, if that makes sense.
Keep putting those things in the chat box. But this is a good point, because sometimes I want to say something, or I want to say how something makes me feel. It's like Liz showed a couple of adverts on the screen last week after our meeting. And you know, she wants to hear what people want to say about them. And my mate did the same here at the Garmin shop. And we finished up, it was Chris and I, and we finished up saying, no, we don't like it. We do this, and wrong font size and everything. But at the end of it, he goes, I quite like the original one. And then at the end, he goes, oh, okay. Took him time to absorb it. And then when he absorbed it, he saw the wisdom, and then we all liked it, and he didn't quite like it. So, you know, it's hard to get that criticism, isn't it?
Yeah, my experience also, when you bring something up with a proprietor or manager, is how they respond to that. So I don't necessarily go away and bag a shop around service or the quality of the goods or whatever, unless when I've brought it up, I've just had a really negative, destructive reaction from it. But if they've been accommodating and they're appreciative of the feedback, well, I in turn go back out and I'm talking to people about saying, you know, this person's willing to listen and learn, you know.
It's like the young guy that rang up told me that my website was a disaster, and he hadn't even really looked at my website. So he said, "Oh, you just ring up to rack me." I forgot what he said, but he was grill him. And I said, "Well, actually, I tell you, you cold called me," and I said, "This is the reaction you get from cold calling." I said, "I got cold called from another guy the other day, and I said he sent me a Loom recording of my LinkedIn account and things I could do to improve it. And I was really impressed with the cold call. And I said, maybe you could adopt that." And I said, you might get a better response than somebody like me grilling you. And I said, so I hope, you know, oh yeah, whatever he said. And okay, bye, hang up. But I thought that would, you know, there's other ways of packaging, you know, stuff. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen, that's one of my things. Keep the words coming. So
it's all about how you like I say, constructive criticism. Always in hospitality, especially, is always taken a lot better than, oh, that's shit, or oh, I didn't like that, or you know, it's more like perhaps next time you have that dish, could you know, I just didn't feel I got value for money on that. Is there something else we could do to do that? Maybe we could add some. Do you have mushrooms we could add to that, or you know, it's about, you know, problem solution.
Well, James and I go out each week on a Wednesday normally for dinner, and we have got this thing on TripAdvisor called 3 Grumpy Men, and we basically go out and then we give a review on every place that we go to. Now, every single review we've got actually finds the positive in the meal that we had, regardless of what we actually feel, if it was good value or money. We might say it was very affordable rather than it was the best tasting dish in the world. you know, and all those sort of things. But there's always something good you can actually praise, because I find if you praise people, Mark.
Yeah, we also need to make sure that we're staying on script here, because we're sort of straying off the strategic relationship problems.
We are, aren't we?
Relationship with the owner.
Yeah. I could say one thing on the problem front that that I've come across is, you know, you might build up a relationship with a business and people within that business or a person, and then that person leaves the business, and sometimes you can be back to ground zero, or the new person comes in and they've just got a completely different way of doing things and different thoughts completely, and you know, you've developed a relationship with the person who was there, and you've kind of got synergies, and then suddenly somebody else comes along and you're back. So
what would we call that?
That can be tricky.
The gatekeeper normally runs the office, I say, and then they've moved on, they've got a new one. And that's probably something that's real right now, is we're probably going to go back to these companies we deal with, and then we've got, he's had to go, we've had to lay off a few, and now you're dealing with maybe the owner of the company instead of the lady that used to. That's a problem. Right. Yeah, what's the time? We're going to go move on to the next part, which is solutions then. So maybe I can make that smaller so we can see some of the problems that we've got. So if our relationships have turned sour, what solutions could we employ to fix that?
Yeah, well, I'd be saying, because I captured on the other side about being a problem, you really have to do, if your strategic relationship is going to merge into a business relationship, you really have to do due diligence.
Yeah.
Somebody,
I've done it.
Oh, thank you. You're good, mate.
You need to get it on paper as well.
I was just thinking going back to you, Paul. When you walk into your shop, I think you have a sign up there now, don't you? A big sign telling you people, you know, how much it costs for this, this, and this.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's one way. So somebody did mention before about putting a sign on the door, but you actually, Helen mentioned that. She said, Helen's got your mic because we echo, but she's there. What else are we going to do? Draw up that's
understanding.
Yeah. And just one thing, and if the person has changed, I think the thing about it is that we've got to change ourselves. Oftentimes, you know, when you've built up a relationship with somebody, a lot of the communication is, if you like, non-verbal, because you understand one another and you've got a good understanding of their personality and what have you. And if the gatekeepers change, then you've got to spend the same sort of time that you did originally establishing that establishing that rapport with the new person that you had with the old. So it takes, if you get a change, you've got to be prepared to do the hard yards again.
You've got a plan for if it does go south as well. How you manage that.
Yeah, that's the escape clause you'd have in your contract, I guess.
Yeah. It's more than that, I think. I was talking to one of my friends last night, and he has struggled with his business because, he's a one-man band, and he's been doing it for 30 years. And a group of lawyers in Auckland basically offered to buy 50% of his business and guarantee him 2 years' work. The problem you've got there is after 2 years, they say goodbye. You've lost your whole business because all they do is take all your clients and start another company up. So you've really got to get that just to start with, so that can't happen. And hence the contracts and thinking it through properly.
We did that. Thanks, Lance. Somebody's helping me in my spelling. Thank you, Lance. Watch your spelling, guys. It's terrible. I know.
That's a seriously dirty trick, though, isn't it? Really. Just thinking about what Paul was saying there.
What's a dirty trick?
It happens, sadly.
the offer of the 2 years work and then take your contract, your customer list.
Basically, they're only paying half the price of the value of the business.
Yeah, they are. That's right. Taking 100% of its value in that sense.
So obviously this is a problem, but with relationships, just going back to that idea, some of them are out of our control as well, isn't it? When they change.
Yeah.
I remember I used to do a lot of work for Blackwater Rafting. I used to do about 400 bookings a month for them in Waitomo, and then Tourism Holdings bought them out. And they monitored me for a year and then tried to hijack everything I was doing when I was promoting it, because I used to promote it through my travel and tourism network. And then when they went and bought another rental car company, I just deleted their website from day one. And they said, "What did you do that for?" And I said, "Because you don't really care about me anymore, and you don't value me, and you're just going to milk my brain." And I said, "I might as well say goodbye now. So all the best." But that was how I dealt with it. But other than that, some of those big companies just don't care about the relationship for the small to medium sized guy.
Yeah, I'm doing a relationship at the moment with EPL here in Christchurch, and the guy I was dealing with retired right on the lockdown beginning, and I had been introduced to the guy who was going to take up from him, but quite a different personality, some of the groundwork to be redone, and I haven't yet managed to pick back up on that, so I'm not quite sure where that's going. So a lot of that was originally based around dealing with one person who's now gone, so in some ways I'm back to square one on that one.
Yeah, well, there's a real problem, isn't it?
I've had a situation where, there was a change in kind of management. And I knew that their philosophy and the way that they manage things was a complete clash of mine, and the kind of solutions and the way that they wanted to run it. And so in that situation, I just kind of said to them, "Look, it's not going to work out." Give them a month's notice, and ultimately that company's come back years later, different managers, and they're a good client again. And I think if I'd stuck in there, the kind of the clash in styles would have done way more damage than just kind of saying, "Hey, look, I don't think it's going to work out," and just walk away at that point. Well, not walk away because you're giving notice, but it's kind of, I mean, in the long run, it's actually worked out well.
Funny enough, when I got Elite 6, I went through all the paperwork of all the people that had bought franchises in the past, and I didn't know these people, so I contacted them all and heard these stories that were horrifying. I realised I bought a company with quite a bad name, and I had to build these bridges back with a lot of people. So I had face-to-face meetings with a lot of them who had been burnt by the company, and made it clear that we're a new company, and that was actually quite good. Not that they came back into my family, but it was just nice to know there wasn't bad people out there rubbishing, the brand that I bought. Solutions. Hank, so your solution to some of the problems is maybe don't be too hasty and tell them to get lost, but sit in there until they get their systems and see the value of what you
No, in that case, there was it was a change in management from basically from Christchurch to another city, and I just knew that those people had a completely different way of thinking than I did, and it just wasn't going to work out. So it's just kind of recognizing that, and then saying, "Hey, look, I think this is the best way, is just to part gracefully," and then ultimately, years later, it's come back around again.
Yeah.
So you have to, I guess, be prepared to walk away, maybe.
So that could be a solution in itself. Just walk away if needed, is it?
Yeah.
I'll see.
Walk away gracefully.
Can't spell gracefully.
Yeah, I've had to sack clients before. That's been an interesting one. But a client, I guess, is different to a business partner or collaboration. But yeah.
So I think the boundary can be quite blurred sometimes, can't it? Because they're a client, but you have to work together as well. So,
but it's having that clarity too, Josh, of knowing when to actually walk away, knowing when the relationship is going to be taking time on both sides that you'd be better put into other areas, knowing your target market. And if they change, then recognise that you're not aligned, and that's okay.
I mean, and never do business on a handshake. You're always going to need a quote. You're always going to need terms. You're always going to need a contract, especially those longer. Because if you do exit, you need to know what you're up for and be no ambiguity. So,
If you look at the paperwork that we do, just entering in a shop and the contact tracing and all that, that's kind of one thing that's probably a saving grace in a way, isn't it? That right now, people realise that we have to have health and safety, and it actually is real. So I mean, maybe this is a really good time to actually going forward and say, no, this is the way we do it. And I mean, especially with Liz, I know Liz has had a couple of stories there where people don't pay her bill. But I mean, let's just say, well, don't let them get to that stage where they haven't agreed and they don't have a full understanding, because why do people have to pay at the end of a service? I still haven't got my head around that sometimes.
Yes, yeah, I do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like Helen's a great example as well.
Catering, people pay 50% deposit or whatever, and that's done. And then a lot of actually other catering companies make people pay the balance the day or the week before the function, whereas I've always done it within 7 days after the function.
Why?
So exactly, because I think that's the way it used to work in one of the companies I worked for. So I did it that way. But yeah, I think I'm going to start just doing, payments got to be done that week before.
I would actually be honest. I think you're more professional if you did that. And if people doubt who you are and your monies, then you say, well, here's some referrals for customers who have used me recently. Ring them up if you've got doubts and see what they thought of my service.
Yeah, we work with caterers. We still do work with caterers in the past and currently, and definitely they normally do I think it's 50% on booking, and then 50% at least the week before the gig.
Yeah.
And that's just in the terms. That's what it is. And they have to walk away from the booking if people don't pay that, because the weddings and things like that, as you were doing, Sean, too, and you get the bride who gets cold feet. Oh, can we reduce the price? And they try to negotiate that last week, and so no, this is the price. You agreed it, or find someone else.
As you just imagine that you're a gunslayer and you've got somebody with a gun to your head. Would you rather have a gun to their head or a gun to your head? And
it's more the business risk, though, because if you get in, you've already bought the food, you've.
Gosh, can't see.
But that's why you do it the week before, because then you haven't bought the food. And that's classically what the person I work with does. That she normally buying the food maybe the Wednesday, Thursday, depending on what it is, prior to the Saturday wedding, say. That's what she doesn't want to do. She doesn't, because in the past she's been burned by buying that stock, and then somebody changes their mind.
Yeah, exactly. That's sorry.
That's what happened to you just before lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd purchased a whole lot of stuff, and in the end, I had to just write stock off. But I did return some deposit, but I couldn't return the cost of the food deposit because I couldn't.
But that's
is part of yours not refundable then, Vicky?
Liz.
No, part of it. No, part of my deposit is non-refundable normally, but because of COVID, I kind of felt that I should return some of the deposit just to keep things. I just felt it was a good business relationship to keep. Yeah. Basically, I covered my expenses and costs, and then I returned the balance of the deposit because I just felt that was a good business relationship thing to do.
Yeah. You can always.
COVID's a big thing, isn't it? But normally.
But you could also have that sort of thing in your terms where you could say that we take 50% deposit, and if we can get a refund from our suppliers, that will be passed on to you. In that case, hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, a lot of learning's happening in this day and age.
Yeah, I'm really intelligent now.
Oh, there are exceptions. I was going to
All right, guys. So we've got a few more minutes on solutions. Is there anywhere we haven't taken this solution? So we've got due diligence, drawing up good contracts, building rapport with clients, always being respectful, and valued communication. That's too complicated to read. Working with companies that share the same values. That's what I put in there. Regular contact. And that's going to be interesting at the moment. Like I just said before, one of my members who were going to my 7:30 group has just contacted me asking if we were having our meeting this morning, as per normal. And I struggled to answer that one. And I hadn't heard from this guy for 5 or 6 weeks. And I said, no. Now he's like, oh, so you're not doing cafe meetings anymore? And, oh, well, I like face-to-face, and I have to go through the whole thing I went through with Mark. But I said, come on, give it a go. Try to get on this Zoom meeting thing and see what you think. I don't like technology, okay? So now I'm sort of like, I've either pissed off a client or, and I just don't, personally, I think, well, if you're going to stick your head up after 5 or 6 weeks, I struggle with that and say, I'm just saying, look, hey, it's all the best, But yeah, so I think keeping up to speed with what's happening and being intuitive to me is something that I wouldn't want to knock on any one of your doors and not think I don't know where you're at in business or whether you're still in business. My expectations are the fact that I know that you're still operational because I can see you moving in the screen, Mark.
Just one more point on the solutions, if I may. One thing I have fallen foul of previously, and it's always been my own fault, was what the client has said and what I have heard can be a bit different. Yeah. So as part of any agreement, make sure you nail everything down. Make sure you actually describe what it is you're supposed to be doing for them and get it signed off.
And in turn, Nigel, when they are talking to you about certain things, is actually in your reply is capturing some of their terms back, saying, yes, have I heard this correct? Are we talking about this, and this?
Yes, but I think having done that, probably some kind of a letter outlining understanding.
Yeah, always in paper.
Yeah, I always send out a confirmation. As soon as I've spoken to somebody, I send out a confirmation email saying, okay, this is what's happening. This is the confirmed menu, and this is the invoice accordingly. And then if they have...
This is what I understood from our discussion. Have I got this right?
So when I used to do, somebody wanted a website, they'd ask me for ideas and all that, and I'd finish up telling them all my ideas and everything and what I thought I'd be doing, the strategy. And then at the end of the conversation, they would say, oh, you wouldn't be able to put that in writing for me. And I say no, because then they'll go get quotes and say, this is what I'm thinking of doing with my website. Can you do what Danny says cheaper? So then I finished up coming up with a letter of understanding about my services. And that's what I used to give them and how the process worked about the service I was providing. But I, as a rule, never actually write down the strategy that they couldn't keep up with. That was the limitations I found with that myself.
Well, I suppose to a degree, there was some degree of tuning of it depending on the industry you're in.
Yes, definitely. We've got 5 minutes, guys, and I really have enjoyed this meeting again. I'm just thinking of takeaways you've got from the meeting and also, more importantly, a juicy topic for next week.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Danny?
Is it related to a takeaway?
No, it's asking what MOU stands for.
Memorandum of Understanding.
Yeah.
So, sorry, one person?
Memorandum of Understanding. Of Understanding.
One person.
Memorandum of Understanding.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And Google's fantastic for that terminology too, for future reference if you don't know.
Yeah, I realise that. I just wanted to know it right now without going into Google. I'm just in the middle of setting up with a school in Fairlie, Mackenzie College, which I've just been on the phone to. So, and it's about this very thing that we're talking about, strategic relationships. Brilliant. So, I'm hoping
what takeaways We've got 3 minutes to finish the meeting off, Vicky. There. So, what takeaways have you got from today's meeting, which would be your value?
Actually, keeping up the regular contract, feeding into the relationship, that's really important. I've only just set this up yesterday. Maybe putting things down on paper, never do it on a handshake, because I hadn't actually thought, I'll do this on paper and sign something. It's a school, and they've employed me for 10 weeks for their school afternoon snow sports. Okay. So I'll do that. I can't see all of it because I can't control the screen, but just having values and thank you. Building up a rapport with the kids, which are going to be my clients, because those are the kids that are going to drive it to get on these snow bikes and have an afternoon. And
so the kids would give you feedback there, but well, they'd give the people that pay the bill the feedback, suppose. So that's plain in a way.
Well, if the kids don't like it, the principal and the sports organizer, they're not going to carry on. If we don't want to do that.
Yep.
But
so just because we're working on a time schedule, Vicky, we'll keep going around the room. So other
all right.
Well, I want to pick up on Mark's point before about due diligence. Actually, I think basically understand as best you possibly can who it is you're dealing with. You have a really good picture of who the other person is.
Is that in the chat window? I'll grab that one if it is. Thank you.
And don't be afraid to look for new people to help you build your business and push it along.
And just be aware when you're doing due diligence that the internet can lie.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't it? Jesus.
People can put up false profiles.
Yeah, she tells me.
Yeah.
Maybe change children to customers.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Right. So, so we've got a few points here. Thinking of topic next week as well, which would be nice. I'll try to get the font right in a second. Oops. Damn.
How do we maintain our own enthusiasm for our business?
You're looking flat there, David. So, yeah, clearly we've got to get together, mate.
Yeah, whatever you say.
It is actually, it is a really funny thing because sometimes, like it's a fine line I'm finding at the moment between loving and hating, your business that you love, theoretically, isn't it? So how do we, I think that's actually, is that a topic for next week? Like maintaining love for your business. Is that what I'm thinking?
I think that's a good one, especially in the current circumstances. I think it's easier to like your business a lot more when everything's humming and it's all buoyant, but when things are flat, it takes a bit more, doesn't it?
Well, business can be a bit like a runaway treadmill sometimes, and you just can't get off it, can you?
Well, have you been on one of those?
Yeah, true.
Okay, well, we don't want to discuss it now. Danny, what about just retaining your business enthusiasm?
Yeah.
Right.
Retaining your business enthusiasm.
COVID to post-COVID.
Yeah. Appreciate all the comments, guys. It really makes it good. Just
that'll work.
Yes, I've just started yesterday, so I'm learning lots to say feedback. Is that who's having a conversation? Is that a I don't think that is a comment. No, gotta go. All right, that's cool. Yeah. Okay, that's excellent. So I'm going to use that for next.
And you need to generate your next meeting's topic box in the middle too. Or is that small down the bottom? Is it?
I'm just trying to work that screeny thingy, but that's really good. I have really enjoyed that. We won't keep you. I really am trying to keep these meetings on time, so it's 10:31. Thank you very, very much. This is actually really, really nice. This is probably the joy of my week, running these meetings and getting some content. So remember, what we'll do is we'll put this as a podcast so you can listen to it again. And also I'll make sure that this is on our Facebook page, and I'll let you guys all run away if you want.